Listener discretion is advised.
So in the true fashion of my Scandinavian ancestors, this case is weird as hell. It's also dark as hell because it's a fan pick.
God.
So
Fans
you
are
thought
way
this
more
episode
fucked up than we are.
Well, yeah. You thought this episode was going to be Swedish Chef, but it's not. So it stars villain in training and then reached masterful peak, Peter Madsen, who is a Danish entrepreneur and engineer. Peter is undeniably clever, and as a kid got into science stuff and chemistry. He was totally like an erector set kid. Like I had a neighbor across the street when I was growing up who's probably listening now. Hello, Sam, who like loved to take apart the phone when we had like a landline and then put it back together. That was like,
when he was doing crystal meth, or
no, just as a child.
He
like,
was
for
the little
funsies.
blonde boy at the beginning of oh my god, how am I blanking on it? The baseball movie when we were little.
Sandlot.
Field of
Sandlot.
Dreams. Sam.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, but
Yep.
you know, Sam had
Yeah,
dark
totally.
hair. But yes. So he especially got into rockets and made his first large model rocket at the age of 15 and launched it over 300 feet in the air.
Wow, good job.
Yeah. As an older teen, he joined the Dansk Amateur Rocket Club, or DARK,
Oh.
where he made rackets with his friends.
Oh, rackets. Oh, I thought it was
Rackets
like
club.
a racket club, like
Rackets
tennis.
Club.
That's racket.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, keep up.
Well, this is spelled.
She said racket.
I did, but that's how it's spelled.
Racket
anyway.
versus racket.
Racket. And while he never attended like an official college, I guess he took some classes and then he was like, fuck this is boring. I'm going to do my own thing. He did learn trades in welding and engineering with a specific interest in building submarines.
First red flag.
Yup. If
Red
you're that
October.
into submarines,
Submarines are fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
maybe you did murder 30 plus people.
I don't think there is anything less natural for a human than a submarine.
I have one, a diving bell.
Yeah.
Diving bells are my biggest fear.
Are those like scary,
You're gonna be in one
scary
and then
tank
get the bends.
head hat
It's the
things?
big, heavy tank
yeah.
head, and then it just
Yeah.
sinks you to the bottom.
You should play the
of
video
the
game BioShock. You would
ocean.
love it.
No.
I can't even talk about it with like without like gasping for air.
Yeah.
Like I have to be like
Reminding myself that I'm above sea
Well,
level.
I mean,
Yeah.
it gets worse. So,
cool.
he unsurprisingly was a bit off-putting to like his friends, colleagues, and fellow dark rocket-making nerd
at
members.
the racket club.
The Racket Club. Some would joke that he was so polarizing and outspoken that his, quote, name alone would start the fire sprinkler system. One journalist described him as, quote, angry with God and everyone. He has a hard time getting along with other people. He has lofty ambitions and wants to do everything his way.
What a
I mean,
fucking
I get it.
douchebag.
Oh.
Fucking yikes. Wow. Well, we found
Everybody
the one area
says
where you
we're
differ.
twins,
Mhm. We found it. So it should also come as no surprise because of just the topic this week that he is a blonde man.
Yeah.
Oh, they're all blonde men.
Yep. Never trust him.
No.
He also described himself as an inventorpreneur, which I feel like is the blonde man version of girl boss.
Yeah. Inventorpreneur.
I fucking can't. Yuck. Hate it.
How do I make tech bro douchier?
Put it on leggings. Let's go.
Add an EUR.
So dude loved the spotlight, so he ate up the press when in 2008 he built the first private submarine in Danish history called the UC3 Nautilus.
This guy is basically Elon Musk.
I was gonna say
literally
Jeff
my next
Bezos.
line is because eccentric rich white weirdos have to conquer every corner of the universe, including space and the ocean.
Yeah.
So let's build a rocket for under the water.
Ew.
Yeah.
Was it shaped
And
like a
also,
dick? Probably.
Like, why
pictures on the
does
drive of
this? Why is this like? First of all, submarine technology, fucking rocket launching technology, whatever, like all of that already exists. Like, why are these men given such like special attention and resources and whatever? Like, shouldn't we be focusing on like entrenched social problems, public health, things that like would actually help society, and not just like, I made this thing go fast.
There's a
I
reason
can't.
why, like, reinventing the wheel is a euphemism for being completely redundant and stupid.
Yeah,
Well,
there's
you
so many
can't-
like tech bros who are like, oh, we invented like mass transport that, drops people at different stops and lines. It's like, that's a fucking bus.
Well,
Yeah.
it's colonist and capitalist mindset at the core of
Hate it.
all of it. That's
Hate
what
it.
it is. It's fucking white supremacy.
I hate it.
So he launched his fucking submarine into the water in Copenhagen. The submarine took 3 years to build. It cost 220,000 American dollars, which like,
I don't know if that's like the going rate for a submarine, or
and
if
this was
that's
the early
a
aughts.
lot.
So like, I don't know. I really don't. I've
Going
never built
rate.
a submarine, so
Feels like a shoddy submarine, if I'm being
no,
honest.
it was actually like really fucking
like
great.
that's a
and
cost saving measure.
I think it
Oh,
was
that's
so,
very cheap.
I think
I
it
feel
was
like it's
super cheap because a lot of it was volunteer based. He's got like friends who worked for like NASA.
Okay.
It was like a big volunteer effort. So I think that's mostly materials, to be honest.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that
that's like
seems cheap.
crazy
It's super cheap. Yeah.
because I'm seeing prices between like the lowest I'm seeing is like 2.9 billion.
Are you
Yeah.
Googling prices for submarines right
I
now?
googled going rate for submarine.
Well, okay, but this is also a small and recreational submarine. I don't know what kind of submarine you're looking at.
Going rate for recreational submarine.
Which
Okay,
I
let's
don't even
keep
know if
going.
those are
1
available. but-
million.
Well, yeah.
Still.
So either way, this was not expensive. It was like a hobby, like a project among other
It was
nerds.
a potato gun that
Yes.
you could sit in underwater.
My dad
Basically.
made it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But I
Okay.
mean, it's not a not incredible feat. I mean, a bunch of dudes who just like knew fucking engineering
Yeah.
and tech
He like
got together and were like,
crowdsourced.
let's make a small submarine. This would be cool. And then they fucking did it. Like, I don't
Right.
begrudge that accomplishment, but also like, why?
I think I just don't like it because I know how this turns out.
Right, yeah.
I
right,
already
right,
don't
right.
like it.
Exactly.
Right. If he was
So-
like a nice dude,
yeah,
it'd
it
be
wouldn't
great.
be a problem. So after many tweaks and returns to the drawing board, the vessel was successfully launched in October of 2008 to much excitement and acclaim. So this is from Wikipedia, quote, Nautilus could be crewed by up to 8 people for surface operation and 4 when diving. The submarine moved at 5 to 6 knots. I don't care or know how fast that is.
Not super fast.
It's not that fast.
Great. Depending
Very
on
slow,
conditions and whether it was submerged, the submarine could be operated by a single person from the control room. So, like, it still had to be crewed by up to 4 people, but you could, like, steer it and, like, control all the electrical from
It wasn't
by
a
one
drone
person from one
marine.
room. Yes. All controls and indicators were accessible from the captain's seat for controlling buoyancy, pumps, engines, air pressure, communication, video, and other electric systems. By 2017, the submarine had been referred to as a 59-foot art project because of its odd uses. It was used primarily for recreation, but also as inspiration for like video game development. Like there was this one post-apocalyptic video game, I guess, that used it for some of its like underwater world building. I don't know.
Okay.
It was used, blah, blah, blah. And one time, Peter commissioned a rocket to be launched off of the front of it, because why the fuck not? And there are photos on the drive. He's combining his two loves. He had this rocket built, literally like stuck a launch pad on the front of a submarine, didn't submerge the submarine, but drove it out
Great.
into the Baltic
You
and
could
launched
launch-
a rocket off of
I
it.
feel like you could launch a rocket off of a floating dock.
You can.
It
You
doesn't
literally
fucking
can,
matter.
but that's not as cool as off of the front
Off
of
of
your
a
own
submarine that is not submerged.
Not as cool.
So just
Exactly.
a floating dildo.
Yep. So this oddball submarine was the perfect media fodder, and Kim Wall, a Swedish freelance journalist, had been itching for an interview with Peter. Kim was a brilliant writer and journalist with a bachelor's in international relations from the London School of Economics and a
Damn.
double master's in journalism and international relations from Columbia University in good ol' NYC.
So basically, the smartest person you
In
could
the-
ever
in the room
conceive
always.
of.
Yep.
Yeah. Just like the most prestigious
The most smartest.
ever. Yeah.
She wrote pieces for a bunch of publications that we know quite well, including The Guardian, The New York Times, Vice, Slate, and Time Magazine. And while she knew how to tell a great story, she also had an eye for what stories needed to be told and was awarded for this with her piece on climate change and nuclear weapons testing in the Marshall Islands. So basically, she was a brilliant badass and super fucking talented, and also like just seemed like a wonderful person.
Okay.
So she reaches out to Peter for an interview. She had asked for this interview months prior and hadn't heard back. So when she finally got a response in August of 2017, she jumped on it, regardless of the fact that she was in the middle of prepping for her own farewell party because she and her partner were moving to Beijing that month, like days
God.
later.
That is so heartbreaking.
So she's busy as hell and is like, I can give you 2 hours. And he's like, hell yes, come take a ride with me on my submarine. And Kim agrees and boards the submarine. Because this is why she's doing the story.
And she's
like,
a
you built your
journalist.
own submarine. Yeah.
It all makes perfect sense.
Absolutely.
Like, who wouldn't have done the same? Everyone
Listen.
would have done the same.
Any fucker on the street could be like, hey, girl, you want to check out my submarine? And I'd be like, wait, like a real submarine? He'd be like, yeah, I built a submarine. And I'd be like, dope. Where do we meet? Like, it's not
I don't
hard
think
to kill
I'd
me.
like it, but yeah.
Yeah,
But
we are
as
not
a
the same.
journalist,
I need to see it.
She's supposed to go.
Yeah.
You know?
And
She's
I don't
a
even have the
journalist.
I don't even have the excuse of I reached out to you with the explicit purpose of talking to you
Yeah, she
about your
reached out
submarine
to him about it.
to do a story.
Right. And it's
So-
Denmark. You think
Yeah.
that, like, it all seemed safe.
Yeah, exactly. So she agrees and boards the submarine on the afternoon of August 10th, 2017. She was never seen again, and the submarine never returned to the harbor. It was spotted a few miles out by a lighthouse the next morning, and a search crew pulled Peter from the vessel, but no Kim. Kim's partner had reported her missing the night before when she didn't return home from the interview. 11 days later, a torso was found washed up on a beach by a passing cyclist
Oh,
that was
God.
identified as Kim's.
God.
Just a torso.
Just a torso.
Arms, no head.
Just a torso.
Okay.
Divers would spend months searching for the rest of her remains, which were found scattered in the Baltic between Denmark and Sweden. Both some were washed ashore and some were out in the water in weighted bags.
Jesus.
This is from a Danish publication that I translated to English using Google, so bear with me. The body parts from the Swedish journalist Kim Wall have been found about 1,000 meters south of the places where Swedish specially trained dead dogs,
Cadaver dog.
like cadaver
Dead
dogs,
dogs.
have made a number of markings during the recent investigation of the murder case. The head of, well, they did find the head, but that's not what the sentence is. The head of homicide at the Copenhagen police, Jens Møller Jensen, who is the most Copenhagen thing ever,
Jens Jensen.
Jens Jensen, said this at a press conference earlier today where it emerged that divers from the Navy's mining service have found both Kim Wall's head and both legs as well as her clothes. The Swedish police dogs are trained to be able to sniff across water for clues, which is pretty fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
On 3 occasions, they have been part of the investigation into the murder of Kim Wall, and each time they have made several selections. So, like, she was dismembered.
Mm-hmm.
Jens Møller Jensen said that it is only later in the search for the body parts from the Swedish journalist that the dogs have helped. So, like, they already established kind of what area they were in, and that's when the dogs are the most useful. There was no one who had a belief that scent traces from the corpses could drift that far, he explained. Divers found a bag with Kim Wall's shirt, skirt, socks, shoes, and a knife yesterday morning. There were also some lead weights in the bag to hold it down. Around noon, divers made a new find where they found 2 legs, and shortly after, Kim Wall's head was found in a bag weighed down by several pieces of metal.
It's amazing that these divers were able to find so much.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
incredible.
because when you
It
think
happened
about
so quickly.
it happened so quickly. When he was pulled out of the submarine the next morning, he was like immediately apprehended by police. So this was only as far as he could have scattered the remains, going only up to 6 knots in a bay of the Baltic, which, like, that space, that stretch of water between Denmark and
big.
Sweden is not very big. So, like,
Right.
yes, it's amazing that they could find it all, but also it wasn't in a
The
super
area
wide
was
area.
narrow.
And there
Wasn't,
isn't like a crazy
in the
current
Atlantic.
going through there. Yeah, exactly. So forensic investigation of the submarine did not find any alarming evidence, no blood or signs of a struggle. But he had all night to wash up, and then as he was being rescued, he intentionally sunk the vessel with the hatch wide open to destroy evidence. So like it isn't surprising that they didn't find anything on the submarine, because when they got the submarine out of the fucking Baltic, it was completely full
of water.
Like everything is washed away. However, Kim's dismembered remains clearly told a different story. She had been bound and stabbed multiple times, mostly around the genital area. Her lungs indicated that her cause of death was either strangulation or mechanical asphyxiation, which is the medical term for having like your throat
And
slit.
strangled.
No.
Oh.
She had either been
Slit?
strangled or had her throat slit.
Oh.
They're like that's what they could get from the lungs. But since she'd been decapitated, there's no way to actually be able to assess whether strangulation was the cause of death or
Right.
so fucked up. So, like I said, since her head was removed from her body, and this was impossible to determine from the remains, and Peter still to this day has not divulged the exact details of how he killed Kim. Peter's DNA was not found on the body or any of the body
It was
parts.
underwater.
But again, that isn't uncommon considering she was in the water for various lengths of time. There was also semen collected from Peter's undergarments, which were turned over to police upon his arrest. So he was arrested like as soon as he was quote unquote rescued from the vessel, because Kim had been reported missing by her partner. And her partner was like, she met up with that fucking weirdo,
in the
Peter
submarine.
What's-His-Face, in a submarine.
And there was
I
only
haven't-
one other person on the submarine with her.
And I haven't fucking seen them since. So, from BBC News, quote, the prosecution painted a picture of a man who enjoyed watching videos. Okay, sorry, I'm catching myself right now, realizing I said earlier that the submarine had to be crewed by 4 people. That's not true. He could operate it himself, clearly. So, I misunderstood that part, and I'm just clarifying that.
But maybe to be like properly
Right.
crewed.
For like a brief, a 2-hour
a jaunt.
cruise. And I don't think they were planning to submerge necessarily. So,
Yeah. Okay.
So from BBC News, quote, the prosecution painted a picture of a man who enjoyed watching videos of women being killed or tortured, which were found on his workshop computer. So he had like not cleared his porn history at all. And he had been watching this shit, like this escalating shit for fucking months.
By the way, even if you do clear it, they can still find that shit.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But this guy did not fucking clear his search history. He's me. Judge Reinhold. Peter Madsen had watched a beheading video shortly before he had taken Kim Wall out in the submarine, they said. It had been found by police on a backup profile of his iPhone. So, like, he, I guess, tried to kind of cover it up, but failed. During the trial, prosecutor Jacob Buch-Jepsen said it was unclear how Kim Wall had died, but it was clearly intentional and with a sexual motive. Madsen had already asked other women to join him on the sub that week, but no one else had come, thank God.
Ew.
Imagine how creepy you have to be.
To be asking multiple women onto your submarine?
And they all say no.
They all said no except the journalist.
No.
Imagine
But
if
she
you were
asked
like,
him.
I know.
well, yeah,
she wants
she's
to
a
write a story about him.
journalist.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes perfect sense. Like,
I'm
you
saying,
know,
but all week
wasn't
long
a
he
date.
was like, hey, baby, want to come on my submarine? No, you're a fucking
Well,
creep. And then this woman comes like, hey, can I see your submarine? He's like, yes.
Here's
Yeah.
what freaks me out so
Gross.
much about this, though. So she reached out to him a while ago, and he didn't respond.
Because he didn't want
And
the
now
press.
in like the couple weeks leading up to this, he's
was
desperately
like-
trying to get other women to come on the sub.
Yeah,
And he's like
absolutely.
watching all this crazy fucking porn and these beheading videos.
Yep.
I think he got it in his head way before she.
Oh, it's premeditated.
Oh,
Yeah.
1,000%. And that he was going to try out tactics on these other women before.
Or she just, he was throwing, whatever at the wall, see what stuck.
I
And
don't
she
think
was
so,
the-
though, because
was
she
the
reached
first
out
one
to him and
come out.
he didn't respond for a while.
But he responded when he was horny and had a plan.
Well, sure, but I think that he was calculating wanting to kill her specifically. This is my theory, and that he didn't respond until things started to escalate, and then he was like, "Oh, I want to practice first." And so I don't know. I just feel like
I think we agree, except for the word practice.
Yeah, I think he wanted to fucking practice his tactics on these ladies. Is my theory.
He just
but
wanted
anyway,
to kill some ladies.
the women he invited on the sub were obviously super fucking creeped out by him. He had written blog posts about stabbing and mutilating women. Like his live journal was like,
In his own name?
I guess,
Ew.
or at
Come
least
on,
a very
dude.
thinly veiled screen name.
Dear
You know,
God.
it was really easy to link it to him. So one of the women that he invited onto the sub was invited only 2 days before Kim.
Ew.
And this is from a publication called The Week. Quote, the witness
Love
whose
the week.
I love The Week. Actually, an
It's so
ex-boyfriend's
good.
dad got me a subscription to The Week as a gift once, and it was a really good gift.
Lucky. I
It's
think
good.
I need to
It's got a lot of
resubscribe.
stuff. Yeah,
It's
it's got a lot of good stuff.
It's good for millennial brains. It's just a lot of little snippets.
It's basically Twitter, but like printed out.
I love
And
it.
what's nice about this is that it was snippets, but like all pertaining to this case in like a timeline. It was really
Yeah.
nice. I really liked it. It's very digestible. Thank you, The Week.
Love the week.
So, quote, the witness, this is the one who was invited 2 days before Kim was murdered. The witness, whose identity was not revealed, told the court that she declined, but that he contacted her again online to repeat the invitation 2 days before he allegedly murdered Wall. So, like, he'd reached out to her before. She said no.
You reached out again.
And then he reached out again and was like, hey,
What
wait,
a
but come on my sub.
What a freak.
Yeah.
I'm on my sub.
She goes, quote, I thought it was a little odd that he wrote to me. She said, if it had been my submarine, I would not have invited me when I didn't answer the first time.
God.
I love her so much.
Just because it's
Had
a
it been
submarine.
my submarine.
If it had been my submarine,
If somebody says no to the first invite and
Yeah.
they don't follow up,
that doesn't
maybe-
mean go to a different platform and invite them
Yeah.
again. Like, that's
Right.
not how it works. That's how you get blocked,
I
baby. That's
would
how you get
not
blocked.
have invited me when I didn't answer the first time on my submarine.
I love her. I love her so much. It also came out in court that Peter texted his ex-wife about 20 minutes after murdering Kim, and the text read, quote, I'm on a little adventure with the Nautilus, his submarine, and doing well, sailing in the moonlight, not diving, hugs to the cats.
That's what he fucking texted his ex-wife after brutally murdering this woman, this stranger.
Hugs to the cats. I
Yup.
can never say that again.
Ever. He's sick. He's fucking sick. So Peter had originally been charged with negligent manslaughter, but between his changing stories and absolutely zero evidence to back up his claims of accidental death.
Yeah,
His-
super not accidental, bruh.
Well,
You
okay.
stabbed her a bunch, beheaded her, and then stripped her, and then
Cut her up.
cut her
So-
up, and then sent the bags, weighted. Like,
Yes,
no,
yes,
it was not an
yes,
accidental
yes.
death.
No.
You're in a submarine.
I
and
know,
You're in the
but
ocean.
hold
And you
on.
could have made it look like an accidental death.
Okay.
But you didn't.
Hold on. Jesus fucking Christ.
Painkillers are setting in.
Clearly wearing off.
I'm mad.
So he said when he was first apprehended, he changed his story 3 times. First, he said that he had dropped her off on shore and he hadn't seen her again. Then all this evidence was stacking up against him and they were like, hey, buddy, no, we know that's not the case. And then he was like, okay, I'll tell you what really happened. We were on the boat or on the sub. We were like, gonna go up to the, through the hatch and take a look out on the water.
I'm the king of the world.
But the hatch fell on her and hit her in the head and killed her. And I freaked out. I tried for like hours to lift her up out of the boat or out of the sub myself. I couldn't do it. So I decided that the only way to like save face was to cut her up and get rid of her and hope that I could
You're
make it
not
seem
that
like it never
far
happened.
Okay,
From
Robert
show.
Durst.
Exactly.
Okay, Robert
You're
Durst.
not that
Yes.
far from shore.
Then-
You had phone signal.
Oh, yeah. Then her head was found, and the forensic examiners were like, LOL, no blunt force trauma to the head. So that story doesn't add up.
And, also
then
she
he was like,
stabbed a bunch in her
Right.
genitals.
right. And then he was like, well, she actually died of like toxic fumes like CO2. Like I had gone up to the top to check the conditions for us to take a look out or whatever. And when I went to open the hatch again, there was like a hot wind that came up out of there, and I realized there was a CO2
there was
leak.
a hot wind.
Yeah,
somebody's
and they were
blowing a lot of smoke.
exactly. But basically, there's no forensic evidence to have supported fucking any of this at all. Obviously. So
You
his
had
charges,
a whole day to think up a fucking plausible story.
well, yeah, he had a whole night, but he's in the middle of, because he was picked up at like 10:30 in the morning. And he
didn't care
killed
about
her
getting away
around
with it.
like
He wanted
11:30 at
to
night.
kill her. He wanted to cut her up.
Yeah.
That was his jollies.
Yeah, and I think
didn't
he just
care
thought
what his alibi was going to be.
no, he's probably like, I'm rich and white. I'm going to durst this and just see what happens.
Yeah.
And it did not work for him. So his charges were upgraded to murder, and he was found guilty in January of 2018. And he also faced charges and was found guilty for indecent handling of a corpse and sexual assault. So the prosecution's assertion that he had tortured Kim before killing her was never confirmed, but I certainly believe that he did. He was sentenced to
Being
life.
in a submarine alone is
I mean,
torture.
It's already, with this man,
You
it's
could
already
argue that-
torture.
Correct. Even though I totally would have wanted to check out the summary, but yes. So he was sentenced to life in prison in Copenhagen, which we'll get to that. So this wouldn't be a real wine and crime episode without this motherfucker finding his way back into the news. So in October of 2020, Peter took a female psychologist, like a prison psychologist, hostage in an escape attempt.
What the fuck?
Yeah. According to NBC News, he used objects resembling a gun. So maybe he like whittled something or like crafted something, and an explosive bomb belt to threaten not only the life of the doctor that he'd taken hostage, but the lives of other people, prisoners and guards in the prison if he wasn't allowed to escape.
I have a
So he-
question.
Yes.
So use an object resembling a gun and resembling an explosive bomb belt or an
Correct.
actual explosive
No.
bomb belt?
Resembling both.
Resembling.
Okay.
He fashioned himself a little costume, a little
Correct.
props.
Correct.
And people didn't
Correct.
want to take a chance.
In October of 2020, he was Halloween in it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, it was my costume.
It was
Oh,
the
is that for
only
me?
one Halloween in it.
Or
in
my bomb
2020.
belt. So he
my
did make it
God.
through the doors, and the doctor was unharmed. No, like nobody got hurt, thank God. But he was captured about a mile from the prison within 5 minutes of the guards calling in his escape to local authorities.
Thank
What a fucking
goodness.
idiot. What's even dumber about this is that life sentences in Denmark usually mean 16 years in prison, and convicts are reassessed to determine whether they would pose a danger to society if released. And this determines if they will be kept longer or not.
So it's like parole.
Yeah. So he could have just waited. Like, if you get a 16-year
16
sentence.
years is not that long when
It's
you
not that long.
murdered someone brutally in a premeditated fashion.
It's not. However, I do kind of support, like, shorter initial sentences with the, like, facing a panel, basically, of assessment.
Like a
Just because, you know,
reanalysis.
I have a lot of problems with our justice system. This doesn't bother me that much because most of the time, if you get a life sentence, that just means you're going before a board in 16 years and they're going, yeah, you're still a danger to society.
Mandatory minimums are a
release
big
you.
issue.
Yeah. So
here.
I don't have a problem with this, but it's like, he's just so fucking stupid because if he had waited out his 16 years as like a model prisoner,
Right.
he had
he
at least
would have
a
had
chance.
But this is fucking so crazy.
There's no way. Now he's a huge risk. Like, there's no fucking way. They're not gonna.
You
they're not
tried
gonna
to
clear
kidnap Clarice.
him. Literally, hello, Clarice, and then like ran off and got caught within a mile. You fucking loser piece of shit.
I hate this man.
He's
hot
terrible.
take. I know everybody else
blonde.
is saying how great he is.
no,
No, but like
he's so terrible.
God.
Yeah, he's scum of the fucking, like, sub scum. The scum,
Submarine scum.
Submarine scum. He's the scum under the fingernails of the scum that's under the submarine.
It's just so fucking tragic and senseless. Like, she was this young person, brilliant.
Yep.
Everything going for her. People who loved her.
She had a
career,
story she wanted to write.
Yeah, and it's
and
one of
she
those
was
fucked up
doing her
things.
job. And
The other reason, even if he hadn't escaped, the other reason I feel like they may have never or at least certainly not after the first 16 years, approved his release, is because it's like, this was this weird sort of fantasy and fetish that he had built up in his head. Like, he doesn't have an existing relationship with this woman. She's just was someone who presented herself because of her job.
It was both premeditated and opportunistic.
And just easy it was like easy picking.
It was
so it's
both.
like she reaches out and then he's like, oh.
Yeah. This is a woman who will actually come on my sub.
Right. Yeah. So I don't
Quit
know.
saying,
It's just,
come on my sub.
come on my sub.
It's so gross. We've said it a bunch.
Rub-a-dub-dub, come on my sub.
She'll come on your sub, but she is not gonna come on your sub.
Absolutely fucking
I don't care what your
not.
fantasy is, but it's not happening.
Come on my sub like rub-a-dub.
Ick. Blonde Peter, you're a piece of shit. I hope you fucking rot in hell. And every breath you take is painful and you have an itch you can't scratch, like deep on the lower or the middle of your back that you can like never get.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that,
Your shoulder blade.
yeah, and that your funny bone like is always tingling and you can never get relief, and you have heartburn until the day that you die. These are the things I wish for you.
Ooh, nice. Okay.
And it burns when
Having
you
experienced all of those things. Oh, and that it burns when you pee. I've experienced
And you can't
that too.
taste or smell anything.
And I've experienced that too. So they're all bad. I want all of these things to happen to
and many
this
more.
fucker. And many more.
And you
Anyway,
have to do
thanks,
jazz
fan
hands
picker.
100% of the time.
Every time you fart, you have to do
exhausting.
jazz hands while screaming.
God.
Well, I sure hope you liked that clip. If you did like that clip, make sure you are subscribing to our YouTube channel, leaving us a nice review, and joining us on Patreon for even more video content, audio content, salacious content all around. Come join us. Treat yourself.